Welcome back to the farm. My name is Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. We've got another session of blackberry spraying in this week, and I think that might end up being the last one. Thank goodness you say no more talking about blackberry spraying for a little while, and I can do some other projects. We got one full tank done. We did up into the hill of the bush in a section, which was really good to get done because it was quite thick through there. And we also did a little bit of the open area on the other side of the bush around the creek line into the open space that we have. So it was good to get sort of the last big bits of areas done. I thought about going out one other day, but it was extremely windy, which is no good for spraying, and it's much wetter and cooler now. So there's a lot more moisture in the mornings. So you sort of have to wait until everything is dried out before you're able to start spraying. Otherwise, it just all comes off. So now we have to wait for the poison to take effect so that we can see our progress properly, knock back the canes as they die, and then we'll be able to spot spray those bits that we weren't quite able to get to. We'll probably have missed some areas in the paddocks, so that will be a little job to just drive around on the Hilux and spot spray a little bit. And in terms of the bush areas, it'll be about getting all the canes that have died back cut back, potentially burning a little bit so that we can progress forward and get into some areas that we weren't able to reach. So we're done for this season, but there will always be more to do. The slightly cooler weather has also made it much more pleasant to be out in the shed garden, which I sort of have not really tended too much over the summer. It's quite a hot and exposed area. So I kind of water it in the evenings, but apart from that, I haven't really been tending to it too much. So where I've been watering, some weeds have come up because they obviously like the water just as much as the plants do. And I've sort of just left everything to its own devices and just sort of been watching to see what it's been doing. So I have weeded out the box that currently has some herbs in it, pulled out all of the peas that were in there that had self-sown. They were providing a good shelter for the herbs, but they were starting to really take over the box, and I wanted the other things to be able to grow. So I've pulled those out now to give space for the herbs to grow and to see what's there, and then to be able to add to that over the winter. The other box that we were resting and had added fresh compost to, I have now dug over, and I have planted new garlic in there. So I'm hoping that that does really well. I'm a bit excited. This is the garlic that I grew last year. So it's my own cloves that are now going back into the soil. So hopefully, because they grew quite well the first year, these cloves will do even better now in this box. The soil is now nice and loose. It's really great organic material. I see lots of worms in there. So hopefully, because these have already grown well in that spot, they will grow even better now because they're ones that have already grown. I said grown a lot. I hope that makes sense. So I'm hoping that second generation will be even better. Oh, and all of the weeds and peas and everything that I pulled out of the garden beds all went to good use. Some of it went to the compost heap so that we can replenish that, so that we can then create more great soil for our garden. Some of it went to the goats, and some of it went to the sheep. So they all got a bit of a feed. It was actually nice to get some green grass and weeds and things into the sheep. They really enjoyed eating the fresh leaves. Because as I said last week, the grass in there is quite low, so they're not getting a lot of green grass at the moment. They're getting hay and pellets, and so I was able to add some tasty weeds to their menu this week. I've got a busy couple of weeks coming up here outside of the studio after quite a lot of preparation in the studio. First, I've got 2 sock knitting classes coming up at Unwind Craft Cafe. So I have balled up some of my sock yarn to take for a little pop-up stall as part of that. And I have also been preparing for the class, getting my handouts ready, winding up smaller balls of some 8-ply yarn to use in the class, and also preparing little feet templates that will be used in the class to create their own little mini sock. So that has been going on this week. And then the following weekend, I'll be attending a traveling market at a small craft retreat. So I'm hoping that that goes really well. I have everything dyed up and ready for that. I just have to practice my table setup one more time, get all of my stickers and pricing labels all ready, and just make sure that I have everything ready to go. And then I'll be packing the car and driving up there next weekend. After all of my dye sessions the past few weeks, I now have the My Country series all dyed up and ready to ship on my lattice sock yarn. I really love how these have all come out. I'm really proud of this colorway series, and I really love how they look together. So here are the 5 yarns. This is Brown Streams and Soft Dim Skies. Next is Jewel C. I'm hoping I can hold all of these in my hand. Then Orchids Deck the Treetops. Grey Clouds Gather. And Rainbow Gold. So that's the full series of colours from My Country. The colourway names are lines from each stanza of the poem. I haven't created one for the last stanza yet. I'm trying to think of the perfect colourway that's going to blend in with these, but also reflect the words in that last stanza as well. I will put a link to the poem below if you've never heard of it before. I'm just really happy with these. I really love this time of the month. This week was the Unwind Wine and Cheese Night, and I went along and joined all of the crafty, like-minded people, which is always so fabulous, and I always have a really great time. I went there this time with a plan to buy some yarn for myself, to do a project that I've been thinking about for a long time. And if you've been watching, you will have seen my hand spun yarn in the Colour Woolen Fibre Company, the gradient that I did. So this is the finished yarn of that, which I really, really love. And I'm been trying to think of a project to make with it. So I finally decided that I'm going to make a Spectra by Stephen West. It's one of his very early patterns. It is a scarf, and it has a border of a solid color, and then it's got gradiated blocks, or sort of like wedges of color, a little short row. So you kind of create this wedge with a solid color around the outside. So I went to Unwind with a plan to find a solid that would go around the outside, and I think I've found what I'm going to use. It is Queensland Collection Drover. It's a merino silk tweed blend, and it's grey, but it's got these little flecks of colour through it. Very, very subtle. But I think when you add this to this, it will highlight the colours in both and really bring it together. I'm hoping that's the case. And I'm a bit excited to start it, but I'm a bit busy at the moment, so I'm not sure that it's going to get on the needles. Maybe next week. New yarn, but my excuse is that I'm using an old pattern, and I'm also using other yarn in my stash, and it will use up this plus the 3 skeins of this that I bought, and it'll use a pattern that I bought. So I feel like that's a really good outcome. I'm kind of excited that I have made a decision, and that this will be knit up into something that hopefully is really pretty and really wearable. So the project I took to work on at Unwind was the Yellow Brick Rodeo, my second one, in the blue and the jewel tones. I have split for the sleeves, and I'm now just working on the body. So it was a great project to take with me to Unwind, because there's no counting, there's no thinking. It's just a lot of knitting in the round, and I could stop and put it down and pick it up at any time. So I've made quite a bit of progress. I'm down quite a ways from the armhole already. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this again. I'm glad that I've cast on a second one. The other progress that I've made is on my Feels Like Home socks. I haven't done a ton, but I have done a few rows on the foot just to keep that going along. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.